I don't feel that it's been as hard maybe as you think, because there's almost a combination of forwards and Ds. So you've got the Barkov effect as a sulky winner, and then they don't necessarily, it won't happen on the road, that they're necessarily on the ice at the same time. So every team's got a, I don't know if you call them a shutdown pair, but a team that's set a defense that over time spend the vast majority of time against the other team's best. And when you play a team as deep as New York, then that leaves the Trocheck line, or one of the two lines is going to hit the ice every single rotation, not against those guys. And I think it's true of New York's top four and our top four when they've been called upon to limit time and space. They've done a good job. The offense, it feels, in the series is just almost there. Right? It almost happens for both teams. Some plays, they had 2 plays to our net in the last 4 minutes of that game that almost got converted, but there's a stick there, and and that's the world-class defenseman closing gaps, taking a little bit of ice away from world-class players.
Right side, second row.
And Paul, 5 power play goals the last 3 games, and then Bennett's goal also was right after the power play. And just what have you been seeing from the group, and how good is it to see them starting to get going?
I think both teams do the exact same thing, and then I would say their second power play last night did everything but score, and ours did. So both hyper-aggressive kills. In order to be successful, you have to get the puck off the wall, and you've got to keep it moving. We've been pretty good at that. We've been better at it. Our power play, if you chart it, probably the band of success and failure might be this big, but the actual chances that we've generated in terms of it being really good or being off is very similar. Like it's been pretty consistent for us all year, even though the finish hasn't necessarily been as consistent all year. They've moved quick. Their second power play was dynamic, right? They scored on the first one, and then they had 3 chances on the second one. I think our power play was kind of exactly like theirs. We just got ours to go.
Left side, second row.
Another question on the power play. You thought before the series that you could take advantage of their aggressiveness, I guess because you both played the same PK. How important do you think it's going to be going forward in this series? Because it looked like theirs got going too last night.
Yeah, I guess I would say to you, it's all possible. Everything that you just said is possible. Ours, when both power plays could absolutely dry up, and not that it's not the part that the kills could take over, and then as you get further into a series, and then fatigue starts to set in on both teams. You know, who loses a half step on their kill, right? How many minutes get stacked up on these? How many times are you in the box? Those are all things that could happen. But there's 4 very strong units: our kill, our power play; their kill, their power play, and yeah, I mean that's one of the many things that could be the difference. The further you go in, the margin for error is slighter, and usually the skill wins out.
Right side, second row.
Your team seems to thrive living on the edge. How much as a coach do you appreciate the way you guys have won so many overtime games, play in so many overtime games? Do you feel confident that your guys are going to handle anything that's thrown at them in those close games? And I also have a second one.
Yeah, of course. We would love not to live on the edge. I don't think that's going to happen this series. I mean, either team could have won the series by now 4 straight. It's a save. That's how tight it is. What I liked was that we played a very strong second period, got into the third, liked where we were, we gave up a goal, and our next shift was right. And that's kind of what you're looking for, that the event of the last shift doesn't hurt you. I don't think we're quite as strong. I mean, that's not the right word. We're not built as much of a momentum team. We score a goal. But this, when the Rangers scored, they scored again, right? Those next 5 minutes, they catch fire. A little bit like Boston was at times. And I think we are probably a bit more even keel in that whether we score one or we give one up, our next shifts are pretty consistent.
And just looking at today's skate, it looked like the fourth line 4 were out there. Is that something you're going to adjust to every game, maybe be different, move 1 in, 2 in, whatever?
I think they all have a unique skill, and it's not even necessary. Some of it is pairings, Some of it is matchups on home and road. And some of it's fresh energy and fresh legs, right? So you're closing in on 6 weeks of this. And all the guys who play 20 minutes a night, sometimes you just need a lift, a different voice in the room, a little extra jump. But we've got 27 guys that sit in here each game and fully prepared to play all of them if we need to.
We'll take 3 more questions back left.
Before I get to my actual question, do you find humor in the Tkachuk Kreider little mouth guard gate?
I didn't spend nearly as much time on it as it seems other people have. I think I saw it kind of live. I don't know. These guys take it's not in this, but like you score a goal, the first thing that happens, it used to be 2 arms up in the air, right? And then they wouldn't do a drive-by on the bench. That would have been showboating and horrible. They all tapped each other in the pads. Now, what's the first thing? Overtime winner, reach in, take your mouth guard out. I don't get that. Like, 3 years ago, you couldn't stand within 6 feet of people or you were going down. Now you got mouth guards flying everywhere. I don't get it.
Can I ask you about Verhaeghe? I'm just fascinated by this guy. Like when I sat in here with him, he looks to like have he has no calves. Like you know what I mean? Like he has a body like an accountant. But yet I watch him in these games and he plays with such pace and grit and just does everything. Like how does he get it done? Because it just seems like he's got real courage out there.
So I'll answer this question. You have to promise me you'll attach everything you said to you and none of it to me. But you would be right at being surprised possibly of watching a game and then meeting him. Because he is so wiry strong. And the closest thing that I thought of that was similar was actually Paul Coffey. And Carter's a little bit more slightly built than Paul was. Paul's, but his legs didn't give you the impression that he should be as fast as he is. I don't know how to explain it. He is, I've said before over the years we have a lot of unique guys, and he is absolutely poster child for being unique. He doesn't look like he should be anywhere near as strong as he is, and he is so wiry on the puck, and he is a player that you might say with that build that would be perimeter or into holes only and open ice. And he does not excel there. He accelerates there, but he does not excel there. Where he's good is in traffic. And somehow knocking something down, stick bar down as fast. We go back when been in my kind of routine had always been, you didn't win the Stanley Cup or make the playoffs or you got beat in the first round, you hate hockey. So I don't watch any of the playoffs, but I always go back and watch every game that the Stanley Cup champion would play. So I got a run of Florida through Tampa. So Tampa goes on his run 3 years ago, 4 years ago. He was amazing. I really didn't know anything about him. And I'm not watching him. I'm watching the Tampa Bay Lightning play. And this Verhaeghe guy keeps popping up. And at the end of the series, and Tampa moves on and I continue, I have no idea who this guy is. He was maybe the best player aside from possibly Vasilevsky in that series. And Kucherov on the power play. I think Carter Verhaeghe was the most dominant player in the series, and I knew nothing about him. And I've had that kind of experience with him the entire time here. He's incredibly unique and a really interesting person to talk to. What I like about more than anything is, so Jimmy Compound would I do most of the team video, and then each one of our coaches does an awful lot of individual video. And Jamie does a lot of video with Carter. And that would be Jamie's comment to me. I want to see more video that Carter would say to Jamie. I want to get better. I got to get better. I think that's born of how he got here. He had scratch and claw the East Coast League all the way through. I got to get better. I got to get better. And he puts up 40 last year, and I got to get better. He's a really unique guy. He's worthwhile spending some time with.
2 more, front right.
Coach, obviously last year was such an explosion for the market. Now here we are, 2-2 in the Eastern Conference Final. Building was rocking last night. Just from your perspective, how are you maybe seeing just the market take another step forward as we are, at this part of the run?
You know what? I've spent time in almost all major markets in the National Hockey League where you would say this is a model franchise. and there'd been 5,000 people in the building. Now, maybe that's because the Hartford Whalers or the Carolina Hurricanes came to town and we couldn't sell any tickets, but I clearly remember going into Chicago and there's nobody in the building. And in Detroit, for that matter. What are the qualifiers? I guess probably not Toronto, Montreal, but a lot of what we consider to be incredibly well-built franchises have suffered when things aren't going well. And then they get built. Carolina, right? In Greensboro, when we were in Greensboro, I think we had 1,200 people one night for a game against Calgary. And if you win and you build a good program, you create an expanded fan base that isn't necessarily then going to fluctuate with wins and losses all the time. You have to, over time, play an exciting game of hockey, but we'd like to be part of that. I feel that we're a part of building something with deep enough roots that we would be considered a model franchise. And these runs are critical for that. But it's also, you have to play a style of game that if you're going to spend your money and you're going to go to the rink in February, you got a real good chance of being entertained, and I think these men do that.
Last one, second row.
Coach, you and Carter, and I think maybe one or two other guys last night mentioned just being tight early in the game. Is there anything that you can do or one of the players can do to kind of alleviate that, or especially when the margins are so tight?
We talked about it. I think it manifests itself in that we didn't skate with the puck when we had room to skate on. We didn't want to make a mistake. So you have a tendency to slow what's going on around you to be more sure about what you're doing with the puck. And we're just going to talk about it, right? You want to maybe sometimes loosen the guys up, apply a little humor, do something a little unusual, but at the same time, now is not the time for the chicken suit, you know? Like, because they're so serious, you have to be tapped into the fact that they are wired. And there is some tension, and you need that. It's positive, but it just cannot slow us down, and that'll be a part of the message tomorrow. What did we learn? We're not nearly as good a team when we're tight and when we're skating, so that'll be a starting point.
Thank you for your time,
All right,
Coach.
safe travels.
Thank you too.
Paul, I just had a flashback to Greensboro Coliseum, and you